Friday, July 22nd. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. We have a unique situation which will be developing in New York City, New York for this upcoming Sunday. The forecast is not really as simple as sometimes things sound, especially in the summertime when dew points become a major part of the forecast, especially for a place like New York. The question is, how high will those dew points be? How humid will it get Sunday afternoon? The more humidity there is, the less those highs are going to be. The temperatures will be only in the mid-90s, perhaps highs only in the lower 90s, especially with some of those computer models. You look at the European computer model, which is a very accurate model for much of this country. I don't know how it compares when dealing with a place like New York, which is situated right on the water. It's very possible that you need a unique model for that area. When you go to places further west than New York, there's higher confidence in what's going to be happening. You go to New Jersey, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, highs well into the 90s, possibly even 100 degrees for Sunday afternoon. Dew points, mid-60s, possibly even 70. That's for the Baltimore area. Philadelphia, New Brunswick area, that's really, we have some computer models showing a lack of humidity over there, and temperatures are going to make up for that as the sun is more efficient at heating things up in lower dew point air. Temperatures may easily hit 100 degrees in those areas which see lower dew points. So I think you could say with high confidence, there are going to be places on Sunday in particular, where temperatures are going to be hitting 100 degrees, triple-digit heat in some areas in the Northeast Sunday afternoon. It's going to be the hottest day this year. If you're going to measure heat by temperature, by that thermometer, Sunday will be the hottest day this year. When you get to New York, Manhattan, New York, things become a little bit more complex because of the dew points. Will the dew points be in the lower 60s, upper 60s, lower 70s, perhaps even mid 70s? Yesterday, right before precipitation developed, yesterday afternoon, we actually saw dew points, incredible humidity over there, as the dew point hit 76 degrees at the official recording station in Central Park, Manhattan, in New York. Dew point hit 76 degrees, temperature only 91 degrees, but with the wind as low as it was yesterday, when they say the heat index, on that heat index chart with a temperature of 91, a dew point of 76, that's an easy 103 heat index, and the wind was actually lower than what it is on a normal heat index chart. So the temperatures might have even felt hotter. I think yesterday really was the hottest day. They say Sunday is going to be the hottest day in terms of this 5-day streak. Today's the coolest day. We have dew points already. It's barely humid, if even that, and temperatures have also gone down. That's in response to a cold front that moved through the East Coast earlier today, or even later yesterday already. But Sunday, the heat returns. Tomorrow already, the heat starts to return, and then Sunday, the heat returns, but the humidity may not get as high as it did yesterday. Therefore, temperatures might get hotter. Many top-notch forecasters are forecasting highs to go into the upper 90s on Sunday afternoon, but we still do have to deal with a sea breeze to some extent, especially the further east you get. It's a big question mark on Monday. Higher confidence in the humidity for Monday. High temperatures Sunday afternoon. Areas which have higher dew points, the real humid areas, might only stay in the low 90s with heat indices around 100 degrees. Areas which do not get that humid may see high temperatures go into the upper 90s. The heat index also right around 100 degrees. So regardless of where you are, the heat index will be around 100. We started this podcast off saying we have a unique situation taking place in New York. I want to explain what I meant by that. I don't mean the heat. The heat is unique too. New York, the last time the areas hit 100 degrees was many years ago, perhaps 2016. I'm not 100% sure on that. It might have even been 10 years ago, maybe even 2012. 2012 was temperatures were very hot in many, many areas in this country, and it's likely that 2012 may have been the last time the city has hit 100 degrees. I don't know if it's going to hit 100 degrees Sunday afternoon. It's going to come close. I don't think it is going to hit 100, but it's going to come close. But the unique thing is the following. Unlike yesterday, where the wind speed forecast, the observations of winds were under 6 miles per hour. 5.6 miles per hour is where they are on the heat index chart. Winds were down to 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. Gusts maybe were up to 10 to 12, 14 miles an hour. But the winds, the general wind speed, it was down to 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. On Sunday, the forecast winds back up into the 10 to 15 mile per hour range. Now, what that does is that creates a situation where the areas which are getting more humidity might actually not feel hotter than the areas which are drier. When temperatures are higher than 95 degrees, the winds actually make it feel hotter outside. When the temperatures are higher than your skin surface temperatures. During COVID, we found out that the skin surface temperature is actually 96 degrees. That's what 96 degrees, although they say 95 when the winds are 90, temperatures are 95, the winds make it feel hotter. But when it's humid out, the temperature actually has to be higher than that. It has to be 96, maybe even 97 degrees. So what we have Sunday afternoon taking place in New York, we have winds which are going to make it feel cooler in areas which have high humidity, but the winds are going to make it feel hotter in areas which have relatively lower humidity. And the reason is because the areas in high humidity are going to see temperatures lower than 95. Areas with lower humidity will see those temperatures soar into the upper 90s. How is this all going to play out in terms of what the temperatures are actually going to feel like? It's difficult to say which areas are going to be hotter, the areas with the high humidity or the areas with the low humidity. And I think it really depends on the person. So we have two things which will be making it feel cooler in areas with high humidity. Temperatures will be a little bit lower. Also, there will be a wind that's going to make it feel cooler. The areas with low humidity, relatively low, it will be somewhat humid everywhere, most likely. Dew points shall at least manage to make 60 degrees, at least that. Okay, areas with lower humidity will see two things making it feel hotter. Number one, the temperatures will be higher. Temperatures going into the upper 90s. Number two, the winds will actually make it feel hotter. At the very least, the winds will not have a chill to it. There will be no chill to the air Sunday afternoon, no matter how windy it is, in places which get into the upper 90s in New York. So it's not an everyday thing that New York gets into the upper 90s. I think yesterday, if what I'm reading is right, if Central Park actually, I know it was only 91 at around 12:50 p.m., but if the dew point was actually 76 and the winds were only 3 or 4 miles per hour, I think that's going to be as miserable as it's going to get this summer. But you go into Sunday afternoon, in terms of temperatures may actually end up getting hotter for a period of time, maybe not the entire day. Regardless, the National Weather Service has extended and continued their heat advisory for the New York area. They're under a string of 90s, a string of days with highs in the 90s, officially 3 or more days. If temperatures 90 degrees or higher, that is officially a heat wave. In regards to whether it's hot or not, it really depends on a lot of things. It depends on the frequency of the heat, what cities, whether it really gets hot. This year, amazingly, the East Coast has not been as hot as one would have thought it was going to be back in May. In May, we had those temperatures which went up into the mid-90s on the East Coast for a period of time. One would have thought that if it's going to be in the mid-90s then temperatures are just going to get hotter as the summer goes on. But we had to wait all the way until July, until we finally see a string of days, solid many, many days with temperatures in the 90s for New York City. Baltimore, Maryland also has had, generally speaking, temperatures have been they've struggled to be seeing heat waves this year. The main heat this year has really been in the southern Midwest, places like St. Louis, Missouri. Recently, that heat has really been dominating really Oklahoma. This past week, we had temperatures that hit 115 degrees. That was both in Oklahoma and in Texas. Unbelievable. 115 degrees. We had temperatures in Oklahoma City, 111 degrees one day. I believe it was 109 another day. We have also, the media has been giving Oklahoma the attention it deserves. At least the Washington Post has been doing that a wonderful job on that. Oklahoma has not gone unnoticed whatsoever. And it's not just been about Texas. Oklahoma is a major part over here. Both Oklahoma and Texas both hit 115 degrees. We have the desert Southwest. The brutal heat continues over there. It continues over there. Temperatures well into the 110s. Temperatures have gone up into the low to mid 120s. We're going to come back to New York in just a moment, by the way, because there's one other thing that it needs to be discussed, which we have not mentioned yet. But before we do that, what needs to be mentioned is, what we need to mention is that in Shustar, Iran, you mentioned temperatures hit 134 degrees this past Sunday, also this past Friday. I want to point out there's been a theme that information comes from AccuWeather, but there's been a theme with AccuWeather, and that is that the afternoon high temperatures on the day of its occurrence is in the 130s for that particular town. For example, today the high temperature there was reported to be 130 degrees, and that comes from AccuWeather. But gradually that number gets reduced, so apparently these thermometers are off. I don't know why they can't get it right from the beginning, but last Sunday's temperature of 134 was changed to 120. So the high temperature, I don't know how this happens. I don't know why originally 134, then 120. So that's not such a question. It's a little bit of a question, but it just means that they investigated the thermometer and it wasn't accurate. But why do they keep using the same thermometer again? I mean, every day the high temperature's in the 130s there, but then it gets reduced afterwards. So I don't know what's going on with that. But we do see very high temperatures in that part of the area. That part of the world, we have temperatures also in the 120s, temperatures in the 120s here in the United States. Europe has been a major discussion. We have not discussed it here on this podcast yet. We've discussed the forecasted major heat wave, but not the actual observations. Now what actually happened. What actually happened is exactly what was forecasted, but we still need to talk about it. But let's go back to New York for just a moment, because there were major thunderstorms that moved through the area yesterday. We had a couple areas which got ping pong ball size hail, and that's really the only thing that needed to be mentioned. We have an area in, was it South? I don't have it on me right now, but parts of the New York area we see ping pong ball size hail. But that was about it. The highest wind speeds that I saw were really in the 50s, but I'm sure there were places that got higher than that. One of the big weather phenomena that occur with these types of heat waves are the cities. It occurs in the cities which are in the ring of fire, just outside the very hot air. The thunderstorms that develop in those areas have enormous amounts of energy. That's what we're going to be seeing later on today in the Wisconsin area, and then tomorrow, possibly even in the Chicago area and the Milwaukee area. A very good chance for thunderstorms in the Milwaukee area. The chances for severe weather are highest on the Illinois-Wisconsin border for both today and tomorrow, but especially tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, wind gusts may hit 80 or 90 miles per hour. The thinking right now is that the chances for tornadoes are not going to be that high. The reason is because the storms are expected to form into a line, a squall line. When that happens, the storms affect each other. Each storm weakens the other storm. Therefore, tornadoes are not going to be the main threat. However, we do tend to get one or two of them in these types of situations. if there is not a squall line, if the storms do not develop into a line, they just develop into discrete supercells, that's when we have the highest chance for tornadoes. That's not what's forecast to happen here in the Midwest. These thunderstorms will be also affecting the East Coast, the New York area, also especially on Monday. We have a major rainmaker moving through the Midwest Tuesday night into Wednesday, and the Pacific Northwest. Right now, it's the coolest part of the country, but they should prepare for a major heat wave for next week as temperatures soar well into the 90s and hundreds. Nothing like what they saw over a year ago, that major Pacific Northwest heat wave. You know, what happened in Europe this past week almost resembles what happened in the Pacific Northwest. We had temperatures which have gone up to 104, as high as Edmonton, Canada, in terms of its latitude, up at 52, 53 degrees north latitude. We have temperatures extremely hot. I'm not sure the 104 matches that latitude, but there was major heat on 52, 53 degree north latitude. We'll have more information in regards to all this. So I wish everybody a great Shabbos. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy.